Hi there, it's Joey. In this training session, we were going to jump into training, what training is, how I encourage you to think about training, and this truly applies to any aspect in life where you're looking to, up level your capacity, your ability, and fundamentally get different results. And we're going to talk about what training isn't, because I think a lot of people that I find they misunderstand training, and even though they're putting out effort or they're doing things, they actually are never going to get the results that they're looking for with the strategies that they're using. And so at Intermatrix Systems, I always say that we train, align, and rewire our emotions, thought strategies, and the nervous system. And whether we're training our emotional capacity, or we're training an athletic ability, or we're training our financial capacity and acuity, the training process and what it is essentially the same. And so a lot of individuals today, they really have confused the idea with coaching and training. And so coaching is very valuable. It can be extremely beneficial if it's leveraged in its correct way. I'm not a coach. I am a trainer. Like the individuals that I take on, I train them. I don't coach them. And the big difference is information as opposed to results. So coaching is, hopefully I qualify the information. I qualify the person that I'm getting information from. Hopefully the method or the technique, the strategy that I'm learning is good qualified information. And it's like I hire a coach and they are basically paid to give me qualified information, whether it's in a format of one-on-one coaching, or I order some kind of product or service online, or I read a book, or whatever it might be. I'm basically paying for information when I'm looking to be coached. And then it's up to me to essentially take that information and actually apply it and see that it produces something in my life. And many people confuse this with this relationship, or this dynamic with training. They think that just because they're coached and they're receiving qualified information, or maybe even they're being coached by somebody who has produced extraordinary results for themselves, that's going to translate to outstanding outcomes and results for them personally. And a lot of times it falls through because they're not engaging the training process. And so training really does, essentially have 4 key steps that have to occur for training to occur, and then that guarantees the result in the outcome. And so the first step to training is understanding what it is that I need to do, and making sure that what I'm looking at in terms of what I'm going to do has actually produced the result time and time again. And so I need to understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. If I don't know what to do, well, then I can't move to the next step of training, which is application. So I have to know what to do that produces the result. And then the next thing I need to understand is, why am I doing it? If I don't know what to do, well, then I could put a lot of effort into things and I'm never going to get the result, whether it's losing weight, whether it's getting in better shape, whether it's building wealth, whether it's training my emotional capacity so that I know joy and peace in my life and I am essentially fulfilled, right? There are like key things that if you do them, you're going to know joy in your life, and you're going to know fulfillment, you're going to have peace, and that's just matter of fact. And if you don't know that in your life, there's something you're doing that's keeping you from the realization of those qualities and that experience in life. And so we have to know what it is that we need to do that produces the result. Then we must know why we're doing it. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to motivate ourselves to take the action that we need to take that produces the results. And so a lot of times, if you notice that you know what to do to better some aspect of your life, but you're just not doing it, a lot of times it's because you don't have the appropriate why tied to that execution or that action that you could be taken, and therefore you don't have leverage on yourself. You're not motivating yourself to action. And so the first step to training really is knowing what to do. Then that leads us to the second step, which is I have to execute. And this is where coaching and training is fundamentally different. If you come to be trained by me, or you come to train with me, even if you're one of 300 or 400 people in an audience at a training that I conduct, you are going to do the work. My trainers are there. We're in an environment where you don't just know what to do. We actually practice the technique together so you execute it. And so oftentimes we know what to do. We hire a coach and they give us great qualified information. We read a book and we access great qualified information, but then we don't take that next step to taking action and executing the information, applying it. And if we don't apply what we know, we're not going to get different results. We're not going to get different outcomes in our lives. And so we have to be in action. And in actuality, that's also not enough, right? Because I can go to an accountability coach and I might check a box and I might say, yes, I did what you asked me to do. And as far as I'm concerned, I did what you asked of me. But then I need to take it a next step, right? The third step to training is we have to confirm proper execution. So just because I'm putting out the effort doesn't mean that I get the result. And I find so many people today, they think that because they try hard at something, and maybe even they try hard at something for a period of time, like maybe they've tried hard for years, that they deserve the result. And that actually isn't true. There's plenty of people out there in the world who, they put out a lot of effort and they try really hard, and they've been trying for years at losing weight, getting in better shape, developing themselves as a person, bettering their relationship, making more money, progressing in their career, becoming more wealthy. And we could go on and on with the list. And they think, man, I deserve the outcome and result because I tried really hard and I've been doing it for a long time. And that actually doesn't warrant you the outcome, because it's not just about trying really hard. It's not just about execution. We have to confirm proper execution. We have to confirm that we're executing the tool, the technique, the training correctly and often enough in order to get the result. Because if I'm putting in a lot of effort, but I am not doing it correctly, if I'm not actually executing the technique, well, then I'm not going to get the result. And if I don't have the result, that's the evidence that I need to tune something up that I'm doing, right? Because what I love about outcomes and results, what I love about my relationship to the world, is I can look at my life and I can look at a relationship. And if my relationships are thriving, then that is basically information that is telling me that I'm doing key things that I need to do to make sure my relationships are on point. And if I look around at my relationships and they're a disaster, there's a lot of struggle, there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of dysfunction in my relationships, they're not working out, that too is really great, because it's letting me know to pay attention to something that I'm doing, because I need to change what I'm up to in order to get a different result. And so efforting, trying, like you can go to therapy for years and your relationship gets worse. Like I have so many clients that I train, they go to therapy, they do psychology, they do all kinds of conventional methods where they might be even being coached well, they're getting good information, but they're not applying it correctly. They're not applying the tool, the technique, the strategy correctly, and therefore they're not seeing better results in their relationships. And so if like that's happening and I'm not seeing the result I want, I need to look at what I'm doing and I need to see if I'm executing the techniques, the tools that I know to execute on, if I'm doing them correctly. Because just executing or trying actually doesn't guarantee me the result. It doesn't mean I deserve the result. I have to execute, and I have to execute the right tool, technique, technology, and practice, but I have to do it correctly. I have to make sure I'm using proper technique and form. Otherwise, I'm always going to miss the mark. And I find many people, they get through all those steps, and then it falls apart on the final step, which is repetition. We have to engage with the correct amount of repetition until the execution becomes reflexive. We're executing the technique, the tool, the strategy without thinking about it, because then it means that we've absorbed it. It means that it inherently has become who we are, not just something that we're doing. And so often individuals will execute something they understand and they put it in action and they even do it correctly for a time. But then they don't follow up with it consistently and for long enough. And so they were on track. And if they would have just stuck with it, the result was on its way. But because they just didn't give it enough time to produce the result, they stop short of it and then go in some other direction. And so in order to build momentum, it has to become a way of being, and that's where it becomes a reflex, right? That's where it becomes just something that we do. It becomes just simply who we are. And so if you look at any individual in their space of mastery, like true mastery. Whether you look at a pro athlete, right, a basketball player, somebody in the NBA, the NFL, a golfer on the PGA Tour, or you look at a master musician, right, in a symphony or something like this, or an artist, right, who's at the level of mastery. They weren't just gifted. So many people think that masters are just innately gifted, or individuals who are fabulous entrepreneurs and they build business after business after business and they just succeed. It's like they got the golden touch, It's like, well, what we don't oftentimes remember or we don't pay attention to is the years and years and decades of training that occurred where they executed those 4 steps consistently in a way few people do, right? They understood what to do. They took action. They made sure they were executing it correctly, and then they put in their 10,000 reps. They put in their 100,000 reps until it just became a reflex and part of who they are. And now all of a sudden, right, they achieve this thing called mastery. There's a big difference, and I just want you to understand, there's a big difference between coaching, which has value, which then you must be relied upon to confirm execution, confirm proper execution, and do it long enough to where it becomes a reflex. And what I find is very few human beings can be trusted to engage that process on their own and by themselves for themselves. I can't. I had to have mentors to hold me accountable and to support my process, because there are times I put in a lot of effort and I thought I was doing the correct thing and I just wasn't. And it was through my mentorship and people who were training me who gave me the ability to see and help me, help to point out, man, look, you're doing this and you need to do this over here, and it's going to make a big difference. And sure enough, it did. And that was true in my martial arts training. That was true in my financial training. That was true with my business trainers, those who trained me inside of business, individuals who trained me inside of my health, my well-being, vitality, health. Like when I hire people, I hire them to train me. I don't just hire them for information. And so when you rely on ourselves for that, like we're just not equipped to do that. And even when I've had periods in my life where maybe I didn't have somebody to train me in some aspect of my life, I always had the right structure to continue to support me. And so structure could be the people you hang around with, the environments you put yourself into, a curriculum that you follow and that you repeat again and again and again. And so, I've set up a training system for our inner self, especially around emotional capacity, how to train emotion. If you want to know joy, that's trained. If you want to know fulfillment and peace as the majority of life and how you live it, that's something that we've got to train. And just like working out at the gym, as soon as you stop training it, you're going to regress, right? That's true with anything. As soon as we stop training, we regress. And so to create excellence and maintain that excellence in life, to realize the life that's truly possible for you in any regard, you have to incorporate training. And so I highly, highly encourage you to think about the things that you aspire to in your life. What are the things that you want to access that you don't currently have in regard to relationship, in regard to your finance, in regard to your body and your health, in regard to your inner experience of life, right? If you wake up and you're depressed, if you wake up you're sad, you're overwhelmed, and that's become a constant in your life, like there's something being conditioned there. You're training that without realizing it. If you aspire to an inner experience of joy, of fulfillment, of peace, of gratitude, of inspiration, that too is something that you train. That too is something that you condition doing certain key things. And so think about the things you aspire to in your life that you have not yet fulfilled. Because I promise, training is what bridges the gap from where you are to where you want to go, no matter what that outcome is that you're looking to create. Whenever I want to create a new outcome and whenever I aspire to play a bigger game and produce a different result than the one I have, I always think about what is that key result I want to produce and what are the things I must train to make it possible. And then same thing on the other side of the spectrum. If you look around at your life and you take a moment to reflect, and maybe you've been training for many years with me and inside of Intermatrix Systems, and you've been doing the Power Series programs, maybe this is your first weekend coming up, right? And you've never done an in-person program before, and you've never done any training with me before. It doesn't matter, right? The same question is what I encourage you to ask, which is, hey, if there's a certain challenge going on in my life and I want to see that challenge transform, I want to go beyond that particular challenge or that hardship that's going on for me, you got to name what is that space that you're committed to see change. And then again, you've got to be willing to train yourself to execute differently than you currently are in that space in your life, and you will fundamentally produce a different result. Think of it this way. You can, just like around physical fitness, you can take an hour a day, and you can train the body an hour a day to know decades upon decades of vitality and vibrancy that very few human beings will ever get to know. And on the other side, you can eliminate, illness and pain and never have to, face a lot of those conditions if you train. In wealth, if you train, you can build your wealth and increase wealth every single year and have access to a lifestyle better 1 year to the next if you spend just an hour a day training inside of a proper financial execution, right? Financial action, healthy financial dynamics. If you train healthy financial dynamics and keep up on those healthy financial dynamics, you can build wealth for a lifetime and truly have access to a lifestyle that very few human beings ever get to know. Relationships is the same thing. If you spend a little bit of time consistently over time, you're going to know vibrant relationships in a way very few people know. So many people struggle in their relationships with the people that they love and they care about, and then finally it's state. Like so many people today, they wake up and they face a hard day because they don't know how to not live with anxiety and overwhelm and panic and frustration and jealousy and fear, simply because they don't know what training they should be doing, or they're just not consistent with it for long enough to get to the experience of life they'd like to have and maintain it. And so regardless of what outcome you're looking to produce that you don't currently have, or what challenge you're looking to overcome, I promise training is truly the answer. And what I encourage you to look at is, hey, how can I execute on those 4 key aspects of training relative to the space you want to transform or the outcome that you want to create? And remember, training really has 4 key aspects to it, 4 key steps. Awareness of what to do, make sure that it is qualified information. Number 2, execute on that information, take action. Number 3, confirm proper execution. And then finally, number 4, execute it with repetition consistently long enough until it becomes a reflex and you fundamentally have the result, and you'll be surprised at just what you can create. And the reality is there's probably nothing you can't accomplish. And so I hope this was helpful for you. Please think about training in this way moving forward, and I look so forward to seeing you very soon.